Hi everyone, I'm just going to tell you about my choice of book for World Book Day, which is this one, The Diary of Anne Frank. I had two choices actually. My other choice was this book here called When Hitler Stole Pink Rabbit. And I noticed that Miss Aitken has recommended this book to you, so I'm going to go with my other choice. But actually there is quite a link between them. So this book is obviously about a family who managed to escape living under a Nazi regime. So it's about the family of Judith Kerr, who wrote this book. She also wrote the book The Tiger That Came to Tea. Lots of you will know that book. And it's about her family's story of how they managed to escape living under the Nazis. But unfortunately, my book is about a family who did not manage to escape the evils of Nazism, and that's the Frank family. So I'm sure lots of you will have heard of Anne Frank. Her picture is on my screen, just on the left-hand side. And Anne and her older sister Margot, and her mum and dad Otto and Edith, who you can see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, they were a Jewish family who had moved to Holland. They'd moved to Amsterdam from Germany when the Nazis had taken power in Germany. So her father, Otto Frank, had kind of realised how Germany could be a dangerous place for Jewish people to live once the Nazis came to power. So he took his family to what he believed was a safe place, which was Amsterdam in Holland. Obviously, unfortunately, by 1940, Holland is also under Nazi occupation, so the family is not safe. And Otto kind of, knows that things could get really difficult, so he makes plans for the family to go into hiding. So at the top of the screen, you can see a picture of a building that's coloured in, and that's Otto Frank's business in Amsterdam. So he's got a spice business, so he imports spices from Indonesia, and then he sells them in Holland. And that building has got warehouses and offices, but at the back there's a secret annex, and Otto's plan is to take his family into hiding in that secret annex if things start to become really dangerous in Holland. And that does happen, unfortunately. So on Anne's 13th birthday in June 1942, she receives a diary as a present, and only a month later, the family makes the decision that they need to go into hiding in the back of this building in Amsterdam. And they are going to spend the next 2 years there in hiding, along with 4 other people. So there are 8 people in total in the annex. And one of the first things that Anne reportedly packed when they moved into the annex was her diary, and she carried on writing it in it for the next 2 years. You can see some pages from her diary in the middle of the screen. It's beautifully written. It's a story about a young girl growing up, becoming a young woman, and the good times and the bad times in the annex when she's kind of cooped up with all of these people. It's also a story about the people that helped the people in the annex. So on the top right hand side of the screen you can see Otto Frank and 4 people that worked for him, and they brought food to the family and made sure that they were okay. And Anne loved movies, so her bedroom is on my screen. You can see the pictures that she's got on the wall, and they're all the movie stars that she had enjoyed watching and finding out about in the years before life in the annex. Lots of you will know that, unfortunately, after 2 years of hiding in the annex, the family were betrayed, and they were arrested, and they were sent to concentration camps across kind of Germany and Poland. Unfortunately, of the 8 people that were in the annex, only Otto, Anne's father, survived the war. Anne and her sister Margot died from disease in 1945 in a camp called Bergen-Belsen. When Otto returned to Amsterdam at the end of the war, obviously hoping to find his family. He learned that he was the only survivor from the annex, and he made contact with Meep, who was one of the helpers in the picture on the top right, the lady without the glasses. And she gave him Anne's diary, so she'd found it kind of scattered on the floor of the annex after the family had been arrested by the Nazis. And Otto made the decision some years later to have it published, because it was so beautifully written and such a courageous and sort of moving story. And you can see at the bottom of the screen, it's been translated into lots and lots of different languages. So people all around the world have read this diary. I'm just going to read you a little bit of it, just near the end. So the family was arrested in August 1944. On the 15th of July, Saturday the 15th of July, Anne wrote quite a long entry into her diary. She's kind of complaining quite a bit in this entry about how young people are sometimes criticised too much and told that they're no good at coping with difficult situations. And at the end of this extract, she says, "It's really a wonder that I haven't dropped all my ideals because they seem so absurd and impossible to carry out. Yet I keep them because in spite of everything, I still believe that people are really good at heart. I simply can't build up my hopes on a foundation consisting of confusion, misery and death. I see the world gradually being turned into a wilderness. I hear the ever-approaching thunder, which will destroy us too. I can feel the sufferings of millions, and yet, if I look up into the heavens, I think that it will all come right, that this cruelty too will end, and that peace and tranquility will return again. In the meantime, I must uphold my ideals, for perhaps the time will come when I shall be able to carry them out." And that's almost the last entry. There's sort of 2 more entries after that. And then, the diary stops, so the family are arrested. It's a beautiful book. I would recommend that you read it. It's a real story of a young girl growing up. I was reminded of it the other day because the photograph that's on my screen of Anne with some ice skates on was kind of doing the rounds on Twitter and things, because I don't know if you saw, but with the recent cold weather, the canals in Amsterdam had frozen and people were ice skating on them. And people circulated this picture of Anne doing exactly the same in the early 1940s. And it's kind of, a picture to remind you of the happy times that she had in this young and short life. You can see her, the second person, can't you, with her friends enjoying ice skating on the canals of Amsterdam. Anyway, I hope you might think about reading this book. Just the last thing I'm going to say is that one of the things that Anne dreamed of was, she said, "I want to go on living even after my death." And, she kind of has done that, hasn't she, through her book. So it's a really interesting and important read for you all. Anyway, take care and enjoy the rest of your books, and I'll see you soon.